The sterile hum of the air conditioning did little to cool the heated debate unfolding in the packed lecture theater at Tel Aviv University. Dr. David, an internationally renowned agricultural scientist, stood agitatedly before a screen displaying a lush, green image, his face flushed. "Are you out of your mind? That's just a concrete jungle, a financial hub. How could they possibly lead in agriculture? Primitive, I tell you." "Primitive, doctor," David retorted, his voice trembling slightly with conviction as he slammed a hand against the projector screen. "I tell you, Professor, I have never in my life seen such an advanced, innovative agricultural ecosystem, not just in technology but in spirit, in a place with such immense resource constraints." Below them, over 300 agricultural experts exchanged bewildered glances. No one had anticipated such a fervent clash erupting during what was supposed to be a calm academic presentation. Standing on the podium, Dr. David's face was beet red. He emphatically pointed at the photograph on the screen, his voice imbued with a rare passion. "Look at this. Look at this urban farm system." He gestured towards what appeared to be an ordinary, multi-story farming structure. "This isn't some high-tech, futuristic shell, but the environmental control system within it is more precise than our most advanced laboratories. And the most crucial part? It was designed by a local farmer, an individual with just a moderate income." A murmur rippled through the audience. Some whispered, others shook their heads, and many wore expressions of outright disbelief. After all, Israel had long been a global powerhouse in desert agriculture technology, from drip irrigation to greenhouse innovations, exporting its expertise worldwide. To suddenly hear that a small, urbanized Asian city-state boasted superior agriculture was akin to challenging the very pride of the Israeli agricultural sector. "David, are you perhaps overworked?" The senior professor, a towering figure who had been seated in the front row, rose. His tone carried a distinct note of displeasure. "We know you visited Singapore, but what you're saying now is utterly preposterous. What kind of design capabilities could a city farmer possess? This sounds more like wishful thinking than scientific observation." "Exactly," someone echoed from the side. "Singapore? I recall it's a place known for its financial services and port. How strong could its agriculture possibly be?" Dr. David took a deep breath, clicking to the next slide. The screen now displayed an image of what looked like unremarkable crop rows, but on closer inspection, intricate networks of pipes and sensors were embedded between each plant. "Just 3 days," his voice became suddenly calm and resolute. "I spent merely 3 days in Singapore, and I witnessed agricultural ecosystems that we, with all our resources and advanced research, might not achieve in the next decade. And what truly astonished me wasn't just the technology itself, but the farmers' attitude towards their land, or rather, their plots, their hydroponic systems, and their incredibly grounded yet forward-thinking approach to innovation." The dissenting murmurs in the lecture theater gradually subsided. A few younger researchers began to scrutinize the screen more intently, noticing the unusual details in the photographs. This extraordinary debate traced its origins back 3 months, to an unexpected phone call. No, that's too cliché. In truth, when Dr. David received an invitation from the Singapore Food Agency, SFA, to observe their agricultural advancements, his first instinct was to decline. An agricultural scientist's schedule, especially one of his international repute, was perpetually overflowing. Just managing cooperation requests from various countries was enough to keep him busy. He had no time to fly to a place he'd never really considered. "Singapore," he had said into the phone then. "I apologize, but I'm truly swamped. And frankly, I'm not sure what new insights I could gain from there." The Singaporean contact on the other end chuckled lightly, offering no argument. "No worries, Dr. David, I understand. But if you ever find the opportunity, we truly believe some of the things our local farmers are doing might genuinely surprise you." It was this simple statement, no insistence, no hard selling, that piqued Dr. David's curiosity. He had spent over 2 decades in agricultural technology, witnessing countless nations desperately trying to showcase their farming achievements, eager to flaunt every accolade. Yet, this Singaporean contact's detached attitude, "Come if you wish, we won't press you," paradoxically intrigued him. 2 weeks later, Dr. David changed his mind. He squeezed his schedule, carving out 3 precious days to fly to this island nation, about which he knew almost nothing beyond its reputation as a financial powerhouse. As the plane descended towards Changi Airport, he peered out the window. The dense clusters of modern buildings, the intricate network of expressways, It looked no different from any other developed urban center. At least it's not the backward place I imagined, he mused. He was greeted by Mr. Tan, an agricultural promotion officer in his mid-30s, bespectacled and speaking with the rapid cadence of a typical Singaporean. Dr. David, welcome. You must be exhausted after such a long flight, Mr. Tan said warmly. Let's grab some local food first, then we'll drive to our eco-farm cluster. It's in Lim Chu Kang. Lim Chu Kang? What sort of place is that? Dr. David inquired. Ah, it's one of our key agri-food zones, Mr. Tan explained as they walked. Many incredibly innovative farmers are there. You'll see soon enough. As the car merged onto the Central Expressway, CTE, Dr. David observed the passing cityscape. Even along the expressways, he noted the organized planning. While large tracts of open land were conspicuously absent, he saw pockets of meticulously maintained green spaces, community gardens, and even some rooftop farms integrated into industrial buildings. It was a stark contrast to the vast, sprawling farmlands he was accustomed to. Our land area for agriculture is very limited, as you can see, Mr. Tan remarked, as if reading his thoughts. So, our farmers have mastered the art of maximizing output from every square meter. It's about intensive, high yield, and sustainable practices. What are your main crops then? Dr. David asked. Oh, a whole range. Leafy greens, herbs, some fruits, and aquaculture. Even high-value proteins, Mr. Tan replied. But what's truly remarkable is that many of our farmers don't just rely on government schemes or large corporations. They actively research new techniques, exchange knowledge, and adapt solutions to their specific farm conditions, whether it's an indoor vertical farm or a precision aquaculture facility. Dr. David nodded, though inwardly, he harbored doubts. Such descriptions often sounded idealistic. He had witnessed too many agricultural promotion agencies globally paint a rosy picture, only to find the reality quite different during on-site inspections. After about an hour's drive, they left the main expressways, venturing into a semi-rural zone in the far northwest of Singapore. The buildings here were less towering, more functional, but certainly not dilapidated. Large-scale agricultural facilities, including impressive multi-story vertical farms, dotted the landscape. Our first stop is Uncle Lim's smart urban farm, Mr. Tan announced. He's 68 this year, but incredibly sharp. He designed his entire vertical farm control system himself. Designed it himself? Dr. David repeated, incredulous. A farmer? How could he possibly have the technical expertise to design a complex environmental control system? You'll see, Mr. Tan smiled mysteriously. The car turned into a narrow lane, flanked by neatly organized farm plots and several tall, glass-encased structures. Soon, a substantial vertical farm building came into view. Dr. David stepped out, his gaze immediately drawn to the external walls, which were covered with a mesh of pipes, sensors, and equipment boxes. These devices didn't look high-end. Some components even appeared to be self-assembled using weatherproof enclosures. Yet their arrangement was remarkably logical and efficient. Uncle Lim, Mr. Tan called out. A spry elderly man emerged from the vertical farm, dressed in muddy work clothes, a slightly faded baseball cap on his head. He beamed at the sight of visitors, striding over quickly. Ah, the professor from Israel, Uncle Lim said, his voice a mix of Mandarin and local dialect. Welcome, welcome. I'm just a simple farmer. I haven't had much education, so please don't mind my humble setup. Mr. Tan helped translate. Dr. David offered a polite smile, extending a hand to Uncle Lim. The old man's hand was rough, but firm. Come, come, I'll show you inside. Uncle Lim turned and headed towards the farm entrance. This vertical farm of mine, I built it up little by little myself. It might not be as fancy as yours in Israel, but it works very smoothly for me. Pushing open the heavy door, a wave of warm, humid, yet perfectly regulated air washed over them. Dr. David immediately noticed the precise temperature and humidity control, creating a perfect microclimate isolated from the tropical heat outside. What surprised him even more was that next to every row of vertical growing racks, various sensors were meticulously installed. What are these? Dr. David asked, pointing at the devices. Oh, these. Uncle Lim walked over, speaking with the pride of a parent introducing a child. This is a nutrient film solution sensor, this one for temperature, that one for light intensity. I've connected all this data to my smartphone, so I can monitor it any time. Your smartphone? Doctor. David was even more astonished. Uncle Lim pulled out a smartphone from his pocket, opening a surprisingly simple yet comprehensive application. The screen clearly displayed real-time data for various zones within the vertical farm, including temperature, humidity, light intensity, nutrient solution levels, and even CO2 concentration. "Did your son develop this application for you?" Dr. David ventured. No, Uncle Lim chuckled. "I made it myself. A few years ago, I took a programming course at a community center. The instructor taught us how to use some simple tools to build things like this. It was hard at first, but I got the hang of it." Dr. David was utterly dumbfounded. He stared at the 8-year-old Singaporean farmer before him, clad in soil-stained work clothes, holding a smartphone, explaining how he had self-taught coding to optimize his vertical farm management system. This image shattered all his preconceived notions of traditional Asian farmers. "Look at this," Uncle Lim said, swiping the phone screen. "I can even set up automatic irrigation. For example, if the nutrient solution level drops below a certain value, the system automatically activates the pumps. And I even added a feature that adjusts the watering schedule and amount based on the weather forecast." "Weather forecast?" "Yes! Because if it's going to be a cloudy day, or if the external humidity is high, I don't need to circulate as much nutrient solution, right? This saves water and is better for the plants," Uncle Lim explained matter-of-factly, as if this were common knowledge for every farmer. Dr. David walked deeper into the vertical farm, carefully inspecting the leafy greens and herbs. Every plant looked incredibly healthy, vibrant green, and uniformly sized. He noticed the planting density was higher than in conventional greenhouses, yet there was no sign of nutrient competition or overcrowding. "Uncle Lim, how do you calculate your planting density?" he asked. This one." Uncle Lim paused before a row of lettuce, gently touching a leaf. "I experimented for many years to find the optimal ratio. Land here is expensive, you see, so we must maximize yield per square meter. But it cannot be too dense, or ventilation will be poor, and diseases will spread. So, I kept adjusting, recording each result, and then finding the most suitable numbers." "You do data analysis?" "Of course," Uncle Lim said, as if stating the obvious. "I have a spreadsheet that records the planting date, density, yield, quality, market price, and even environmental data for each batch of greens. That way, I know which methods are most effective, right?" Dr. David felt his worldview being profoundly shaken. In Israel, he had seen many high-tech farms, equipped with dedicated technical teams, expensive equipment, and robust government and corporate support. Yet, this Singaporean elderly farmer, using relatively inexpensive equipment, relying on self-study and continuous experimentation, had built such a sophisticated and holistic smart management system. Moreover, and most critically, Uncle Lim exhibited not just technical proficiency, but a deep understanding of agriculture. He knew what plants needed, how to observe environmental changes, and how to achieve optimal results with limited resources. This knowledge hadn't come from textbooks, but from decades of dialogue with the land and plants, a wisdom accumulated through hands-on experience. "Uncle Lim, roughly how much did this entire system cost you?" "Doctor," David asked, posing a question that greatly interested him. The old farmer thought for a moment. "All in all, maybe around 20,000 Singapore dollars?" Dr. David quickly did the mental conversion, approximately 15,000 US dollars. This figure shocked him even more. In Israel, a commercial system with similar functionality could easily cost 10 times that amount. "Is it very expensive?" Uncle Lim looked a little embarrassed by Dr. David's expression. "I know foreign equipment is very advanced. My crude, self-assembled method might seem laughable." No. Dr. David quickly shook his head. "Quite the contrary. I believe this is one of the most efficient investments I've ever seen. You know, in our country, a similar system could cost over 100,000 US dollars. Uncle Lim's eyes widened. "Really? So expensive? And," Dr. David continued, "those commercial systems are very complex, requiring specialists for maintenance. But this system of yours, you can manage it completely yourself." "Exactly. If something breaks, I can fix it myself," Uncle Lim said happily. "And I can always improve it. Just last month, I added a new function that monitors leaf color changes to detect pests and diseases early." For the next 2 hours, Dr. David meticulously explored Uncle Lim's entire farming system, from seedling propagation and nutrient management to pest control, harvesting, packaging, and even sales. Every stage had detailed records and optimization plans. The old farmer even pulled out his meticulously kept notebook, filled with data and personal observations. "Look at this," Uncle Lim said, flipping to a specific page. "This was my leafy green variety comparison experiment last year. I grew 5 varieties simultaneously, recording each variety's performance under different conditions. I found that 2 varieties were particularly suited to my system and Singapore's climate." Dr. David carefully examined the handwritten notes. Though not perfectly neat, the content was exceptionally professional. If this data were properly organized, it could easily form the basis of a solid research paper. "Uncle Lim, have you ever considered sharing these experiences?" "Oh yes," the old farmer smiled. "We have a local farming community group. We meet regularly to exchange cultivation experiences. I also often give talks at community center workshops, teaching other urban farmers how to do these things." "Community center workshops?" "Yes. It's for ordinary people who want to learn. I teach Introduction to Smart Urban Farming, helping young people who want to venture into agriculture use technology to improve their crops." It was then that Dr. David truly understood. Uncle Lim was not just a tech-savvy farmer. He was an educator, actively passing on his knowledge to the next generation. Before leaving the farm, Dr. David asked one last question. "Uncle Lim, why do you work so hard to learn new technologies? Wouldn't traditional farming be easier?" The old farmer paused, looking out at his rows of lush greens, then slowly began to speak. "I've farmed my whole life. In the past, it was truly difficult, reliant on the weather, losing money when conditions were bad. But now, it's different. We have so many tools we can use, which makes farming more scientific and stable." He turned, his gaze earnest. "And I hope young people see that farming isn't a backward industry. We can use the most advanced techniques to grow the best produce. Only then will people be willing to continue farming, and Singapore's food security will have a future." These words deeply moved Dr. David. He suddenly grasped that this was not just about technology, it was about dignity and legacy. These Singaporean farmers, in their unique way, were redefining what modern agriculture could be. Leaving Uncle Lim's farm, it was already late afternoon. Dr. David sat in the car, his mind replaying everything he had seen. He pulled out his notebook, quickly jotting down his observations and thoughts. The reality had far exceeded his initial expectations. "What's next on our itinerary?" he asked Mr. Tan. "We're going to see a young man's hydroponic farm," Mr. Tan said. "That one's even cooler. You'll definitely like it. He's only in his early 30s, used to be an engineer in a big tech company in Singapore. Then he returned home to start a farming business. He's applied all his tech industry management methods to his farm, and it's doing incredibly well." The car drove for another 20 minutes, arriving at another agri-food zone. This farm looked even more modern, a large-scale hydroponic vertical farm with a prominent sign at the entrance, displaying the farm's name and various certifications. A young man, bespectacled and wearing a clean work uniform, came out to greet them. His name was Ben, and he spoke articulately, clearly, a well-educated individual. "Dr. David, a pleasure to meet you," Ben said in fluent English. "Welcome to our farm." "Your English is excellent," Dr. David noted, somewhat surprised. "Haha, I used to work for a multinational tech company, you see," Ben chuckled. "Meetings with international colleagues every day, so my English had to be good." "Then, why did you leave the tech industry for farming?" Dr. David asked as Ben led them into the facility. "Because I find agriculture even more challenging," Ben explained. "The tech industry, while dynamic, always felt like something was missing. Then, one day, I visited my grandparents' old plot, which was lying fallow, and it felt like a waste. I thought, since I have a tech background, why not try to make agriculture better?" Inside the vertical farm, a meticulously designed hydroponic system stretched across multiple levels. Vegetables were grown on tiered racks, their roots immersed in circulating nutrient solutions. The entire space was exceptionally clean, almost entirely devoid of soil. "This is our vegetable factory," Ben introduced. "All environmental parameters are computer-controlled. Temperature, humidity, light, nutrient solution, composition, and pH all automated." Dr. David noticed the dense array of lights on the ceiling. "You're using artificial light sources?" "Yes. That way, we're not limited by sunlight. We can produce stably all year round," Ben affirmed. "And we use advanced LED grow lights, allowing us to precisely control the light spectrum to help plants grow faster and better." "Won't the costs be very high?" "Initial investment is indeed substantial," Ben admitted. but in the long run, it's very cost-effective because our yields are stable, quality is consistent, and we use almost no pesticides. These advantages allow us to command better prices in the market. Ben opened his laptop, showcasing the farm's management system. The screen displayed various real-time data, charts, production schedules, sales records, and cost analyses. The entire system looked like a management platform for a tech company. I've applied all the agile development and data analysis methods I learned in the tech industry to farm management, Ben explained. For every batch of vegetables, from sowing to harvest, all data is recorded. Then we analyze this data to find the optimal production parameters. What vegetables do you primarily grow? High-value leafy greens, such as various types of lettuce, kale, and basil, Ben stated confidently. Our main clients are high-end restaurants and health-conscious consumers. Our produce can be delivered to restaurants within 2 hours of harvest, a freshness that imported or field-grown produce simply cannot match. Dr. David observed the growing vegetables. Indeed, every plant was beautiful, with vibrant green leaves and uniform sizes. Such standardized production was almost impossible to achieve in traditional agriculture. Have you encountered any technical difficulties? Dr. David inquired. Of course, Ben smiled. In the beginning, there were so many problems. Wrong nutrient solution formulas, plants not growing well, temperature control failures that ruined entire batches of greens. Once, there was a power outage and the backup generator failed to start. The losses were severe. How did you solve these problems? Just through continuous trial, error, and learning, Ben replied. We've set up an experimental zone specifically for testing new methods. And I also attend various agricultural seminars and network with other farmers. Singapore's farming community is very active. Everyone is willing to share experiences. This again reminded Dr. David of Uncle Lim he had met that morning. These Singaporean farmers, whether the older generation or the new, possessed an incredibly open learning attitude. They weren't territorial. Instead, they actively sought innovation and improvement. Ben, what do you think is Singapore's greatest agricultural advantage? Dr. David asked, posing a question he was eager to have answered. The young man thought for a moment. I think it's flexibility and innovation, driven by necessity. Singapore is small. We can't compete with larger countries on scale. So we must be smarter, more efficient. And Singaporeans are very pragmatic. They'll find ways to achieve the best results with the fewest resources. Ben continued. Also, I believe our generation of farmers is different from the last. Many of us have experience in other industries and bring that expertise into agriculture. For example, the automation mindset from tech, the customer-centric approach from services, even the aesthetic concepts from design. These elements, blended together, create new agricultural models. Dr. David nodded. This was an insightful perspective. He had indeed noticed that the new generation of Singaporean farmers not only knew how to grow crops, but also understood branding, marketing, and data analytics. This cross-disciplinary capability allowed them to create greater value. After visiting Ben's farm, it was almost evening. Mr. Tan suggested they have dinner at a nearby farm-to-table bistro, known for using local produce. The bistro wasn't large, but it was bustling with customers, a mix of local farmers and curious tourists. The owners, a couple in their 50s, warmly greeted them. They ordered a few dishes, simple local fare, but the flavors were exquisite. Are you enjoying the food? The proprietress asked kindly. It's delicious, Dr. David said sincerely. Though still getting used to chopsticks, the taste of the food made him forget any awkwardness. All these dishes are made from what we grow ourselves, the owner said. We have a small plot out back where we grow seasonal vegetables. Just enough for our restaurant, fresh and safe. You're farmers too? You could say that. The proprietress smiled. We used to be full-time farmers. As we got older, our son took over the main farm, and we opened this small eatery to cook what we grow for everyone. During dinner, more customers trickled in, some local farmers, others tourists. Everyone chatted comfortably, sharing news of their day's harvest or recent challenges. The atmosphere was warm, and Dr. David felt a strong sense of community cohesion. Dr. David, what do you think of what you've seen today? Mr. Tan asked during the meal. Dr. David put down his chopsticks, speaking earnestly. To be honest, it has completely exceeded my expectations. I originally thought I'd see some improvements to traditional agriculture, but what I've witnessed is an entirely new philosophy of farming. A new philosophy? A farmer nearby overheard and asked curiously. We haven't done anything special, just trying our best to grow good crops. No, Dr. David shook his head. What you're doing is far from simple. In Israel, while agricultural technology is highly advanced, much of it is driven by large corporations or research institutions. Farmers are often users, not creators. But here, I see farmers themselves as innovators. You develop your own techniques, solve your own problems. This bottom-up innovative energy is something many countries lack. The farmer looked a little embarrassed. Oh, no, it's nothing special. We're just small-timers trying to make a living, right? Can't afford experts, so we have to do it ourselves. And that, Dr. David said, with rising excitement, is precisely what's so incredible. Because you are the ones truly working the land, you understand the practical needs best. So, the solutions you develop are often more practical and effective than those designed in laboratories. After dinner, Dr. David accompanied Mr. Tan to a nearby community center. Tonight, there was an agricultural technology sharing session, a self-organized gathering of local farmers. The community center was a 2-story building, a bit dated but well-maintained. Inside the meeting room on the first floor, 20 to 30 people, young and old, were already seated, chatting informally. Ladies and gentlemen, tonight we have a special guest. The host stood up to introduce. This is Dr. David, an agricultural expert from Israel. Israeli agricultural technology is very advanced. We can learn a lot from him later. Everyone applauded warmly. Dr. David felt a little nervous. He had attended many formal international conferences, but this was his first time at a self-organized farmers' gathering. As the sharing session began, several farmers took turns to speak about new methods they had recently tried. One shared a new organic nutrient formula for urban gardens, another introduced biological pest control methods for vertical farms, and yet another demonstrated a simple, self-designed, automated irrigation system. What deeply impressed Dr. David was the practicality of these presentations. There were no elaborate slides or complex jargon, just honest accounts of what they did, the results, and the problems they encountered. The farmers in the audience listened intently, asked questions, and offered suggestions. The whole atmosphere felt like a group of friends exchanging experiences. When it was Dr. David's turn to speak, he stood up and said, "Honestly, when I came here today, I intended to share Israel's experiences. But after seeing everything throughout the day, I feel that I have learned far more. This peer-to-peer learning model you have is something many countries are missing." "Dr. David, you're too kind," an elderly farmer said. "How can our humble methods compare to Israel? You can even grow flowers in the desert." "Indeed, Israel has extensive experience in desert agriculture," Dr. David acknowledged. "But those technologies are often very expensive, requiring substantial investment. What I've seen here is the creation of maximum efficiency with limited resources. This ingenuity is truly priceless." He continued, "And I've noticed you place great emphasis on sustainability. Whether it's Uncle Lim's precise nutrient management or Ben's recirculating hydroponic system, you're all striving to minimize resource waste. This respect for the environment is often overlooked in many agricultural nations, focused solely on production volume." A young urban farmer raised his hand to ask, "Dr. David, what do you think we can still improve upon?" This question made Dr. David ponder for a moment. "Frankly, on the technical level, you've already done remarkably well. If I had to suggest an improvement, it would be how to let more people know what you're doing. Your agricultural story is captivating and deserves to be seen by the world." "Exactly," Mr. Tan chimed in. "Singaporean agriculture is truly strong, but internationally, not many people know about it. When people mention agricultural powerhouses, they usually think of the US, the Netherlands, or Israel. Few would think of Singapore." "That's precisely my point," Dr. David said. "The innovations I've seen today, if presented internationally, would undoubtedly attract significant attention. Yet, you all seem to just quietly go about your work, not inclined to promote yourselves." "That's just how we Singaporeans are," the host chuckled. "More introverted, not fond of grandstanding. And everyone feels that growing their crops well is the most important thing. The rest doesn't matter." "But," Dr. David said earnestly, "if your experiences could be known to more people, it could help farmers in other countries. This isn't just for Singapore. It's for the advancement of global agriculture." These words prompted the farmers in the room to reflect. Indeed, they had always focused on their own plots, rarely considering sharing their experiences internationally. The sharing session concluded around 9 p.m. Dr. David followed Mr. Tan back to their accommodation, a charming farm stay run by a retired teacher couple. They had converted their old house into a comfortable guest house. "Lying in bed, Doctor, David replayed the day's events in his mind. He took out his phone and began typing notes, recording every detail that had left a lasting impression. As he wrote, he suddenly realized that this trip to Singapore might fundamentally change many of his perspectives on agriculture. The next morning, Mr. Tan picked him up for their next destination, an agricultural cooperative that specifically helped small urban farmers market their produce. The car pulled up to a building that resembled a modern warehouse. Inside, it was a state-of-the-art packaging and logistics center. Dozens of workers were busy sorting vegetables, labeling, packing, and boxing. "This is our collective distribution center," said the cooperative chairman, a formidable man in his 50s who greeted them. "We help over 200 nearby farmers with their post-harvest work, including grading, packaging, cold storage, and distribution." "Why was such an organization established?" Dr. David asked. "Because individual small farmers find it hard to negotiate with large wholesalers," the chairman explained. "And it's too much for one farmer to handle everything from cultivation to sales. So, we pooled everyone's strength to form this cooperative. Farmers focus on farming, and we take care of selling their produce." Dr. David observed the entire operation. Produce, once delivered, underwent strict inspection to ensure it met quality standards before being accepted. It was then graded by quality. The best produce could be sold to high-end supermarkets or exported, while others went to local markets or processing plants. The entire process had a comprehensive traceability system, allowing them to know which farmer produced each batch. "Setting up such a system must have been expensive," Dr. David remarked. "Indeed, it wasn't cheap," the chairman admitted. "But we operate as a cooperative. Everyone contributes. And the government also has some support schemes, providing partial subsidies. Most importantly, this system has increased farmers' income by at least 30%, so everyone is very supportive." "Increased by 30%? Dr. David was surprised. "Yes, because we negotiate better prices for our farmers and reduce intermediary exploitation," the chairman explained. "Before, farmers had to go through several layers of middlemen to sell their produce, with each layer taking a cut. Now, we work directly with retailers, so farmers naturally earn more." The chairman led him to a cold room, where various fresh vegetables were neatly stacked, with precise temperature control. "Preservation is very important," he said, "especially for export produce. Quality must be guaranteed. Our cold chain system ensures that produce maintains optimal temperature from harvest to shelf." "Which countries do you mainly export to?" "Japan, Hong Kong, even some specialty markets in Europe," the chairman replied. "These markets have very high quality requirements, but are willing to pay a premium. Our agricultural products, being fresh, safe, and of consistent quality, are very popular there." Dr. David noticed the exquisite packaging design. Each box of vegetables looked like a premium product, not only with product information, but also a photo and story of the producer. "This design is very unique," he commented. "Yes, we want consumers to know who grows these vegetables," the chairman said proudly. "People today are increasingly concerned about food origins. They want to know how their food is produced. So, we print the farmers' stories on the packaging, allowing consumers to connect with the producers." "That's an excellent concept," Dr. David nodded. "It gives agriculture a human touch." "Exactly. And it also gives farmers a greater sense of accomplishment," the chairman added. "They know their produce will be seen by consumers, so they take even greater care. We also offer farm visits, allowing consumers to personally see how we farm. The trust built this way cannot be bought by any amount of advertising." Leaving the cooperative, it was almost noon. Mr. Tan said he wanted to take him to a special place, an experimental farm dedicated to breeding new varieties. This farm was located in a more secluded, greener area of Singapore, its environment tranquil. The person in charge was Dr. Lee, a plant scientist in his 40s who worked at an agricultural research institute specializing in crop breeding. "Welcome, welcome." Dr. Lee greeted them warmly. "I hear Israel is very strong in arid crop research. I've always wanted to exchange ideas with you." "What do you primarily research here?" Dr. David asked. "Our team mainly focuses on improving vegetable and fruit varieties," Dr. Lee said, leading them into a greenhouse. "Singapore's climate is challenging, hot and humid, making many crops susceptible to diseases. So, we need to breed varieties that are adapted to Singapore's specific conditions and are resilient to urban environmental stresses." Inside the greenhouse, various plants grew, some looking normal, others clearly experimental variations. Dr. Lee patiently explained the characteristics and breeding goals of each variety. Look at this tomato. He pointed to a particularly vigorous plant. We used traditional breeding methods to enhance its resistance to viruses. This way, farmers don't need to spray as many pesticides. Traditional breeding, not genetic modification? We primarily use hybridization and selection methods, Dr. Lee confirmed. While it's slower, Singaporean consumers still have concerns about GMO products, so we strive to use traditional approaches. And to be honest, though traditional breeding is time-consuming, the varieties we develop are usually more stable and robust for our local conditions. Dr. David highly agreed with this viewpoint. He understood that genetic modification technology was powerful, but he also respected consumer concerns. Traditional methods, though slower, were more readily accepted. How long does it take you to breed a new variety? If quick, 5 to 7 years. If slow, it could be over 10 years, Dr. Lee explained. Because we have to repeatedly test to ensure the variety performs well under various environmental conditions, and it must pass many tests to confirm its safety and stability. How do you decide what varieties to breed? We maintain close contact with farmers to understand the problems they face and the types of crops they need, Dr. Lee explained. For example, if farmers report a severe disease, we'll research how to breed disease-resistant varieties. Or if the market demands a specific flavor of vegetable, we'll work in that direction. This made Dr. David think of the farmers he had met yesterday. It turned out that agricultural innovation in Singapore wasn't just at the farmer level. There was also a comprehensive research support system. From basic research to practical application, a virtuous cycle had formed. How do you promote your research findings? We collaborate with seed companies to commercialize new varieties, Dr. Lee said. Or, through SFA and community workshops, we directly teach farmers how to cultivate new varieties. We also organize demonstration plots, allowing farmers to personally witness the efficacy of new varieties. After visiting the experimental farm, Dr. David's impression of Singaporean agriculture deepened further. Here, there were innovative farmers, supportive organizations, and a solid research foundation. These three elements combined to form a complete agricultural ecosystem. Their afternoon itinerary was a visit to an agri-tourism farm. Mr. Tan explained that this was another unique characteristic of Singaporean agriculture, integrating farming with tourism to create more value. The farm was situated on a scenic hillside, offering panoramic views of the surrounding flatlands. The farm owners were a young couple in their 30s, John and May, who had studied business management and design in university. We took over our family farm 5 years ago, May explained. Originally, it was just a traditional fruit orchard, but the income was unstable. Later, we thought, instead of just selling fruits, why not transform the entire farm into an experiential space? They had meticulously planned the orchard into different zones: a fruit-picking area, a picnic area, a hands-on farming experience zone, and a charming cafe selling desserts and drinks made from their own fruits. On weekends we get many families here, John explained. Children can experience fruit picking and learn how fruits grow. For city-bred kids, this is a very novel experience. Does this impact your farming operations? Dr. David asked. Initially, it did require adjustment, May admitted, but we eventually found a balance. We dedicate a portion of the orchard specifically for tourism, while other areas are still for regular cultivation and harvesting. And honestly, the income from tourism is actually better than just selling fruits, so overall, it's profitable. Dr. David noticed that every corner of the farm was thoughtfully designed. There were signboards introducing different fruits, interactive installations to teach children about agriculture, and several beautifully decorated photo spots. Your design sense is excellent, he complimented. Thank you, that's my wife's expertise, John smiled. She used to work in an advertising agency and understands aesthetics and marketing very well. So, our farm isn't just a farm, it's also a beautiful space. In the cafe, May offered them freshly squeezed fruit juice made from their own produce, rich and sweet. On the walls hung photos of the farm through the seasons, along with stories of their cultivation journey. We hope that people who come here aren't just consumers, but also become supporters of agriculture, May said earnestly. When they understand the hard work of farmers and the challenges of cultivation, they will cherish food more and be more willing to support local agriculture. This is a wonderful educational approach, Dr. David commented. It connects agriculture with society. Yes, and this way, we also find a reason to continue farming, John added. To be honest, Purely traditional farming is truly hard work, and income is unstable. But now, we've created new value, making agriculture more interesting and sustainable. As evening drew in, Mr. Tan took Dr. David to one last place, a small urban farming academy dedicated to educating the next generation. This academy was spontaneously organized by several young farmers, holding weekly classes to teach basic knowledge to those interested in farming. The classroom was set up in a community center activity space, simple but well-equipped. Today's lesson was on watering techniques and urban cultivation methods. About a dozen people attended, a mix of young and middle-aged individuals, all diligently taking notes. How did this academy start? Dr. David asked Alex, one of the founders. A few of us young farmers often gathered to discuss, and we realized many people who wanted to try urban farming didn't know where to begin, Alex explained. While SFA and polytechnics offer courses, they are often geared towards those already in the industry. So, we thought, why don't we teach it ourselves? What kind of content do you teach? Basic agricultural knowledge, like nutrient management, pest control, fertilization. And then we demonstrate practical steps for urban hydroponics, Alex said, demonstrating a hydroponic setup. Also, some more practical skills, such as how to use basic farm machinery, how to conduct market research, and how to negotiate prices with distributors. We hope that after our students complete the course, they genuinely have the ability to start their own small plots. What's the response like? Amazing, Alex said happily. Every class is fully booked. Many people want to attend but can't get a spot. We found that there are actually many people who want to get into agriculture, especially urbanites, looking to change their lifestyle. They might not want large-scale farming, perhaps just a small community garden plot to grow their own food and improve their quality of life. After class, Dr. David chatted with a few students. One young woman, Sarah, 30, used to work in marketing in the city. I've always yearned for a life connected to nature, Sarah said, but I had absolutely no experience and didn't know how to start. After taking this course, I found that farming isn't as difficult as I imagined. It's quite engaging. Do you plan to really become a farmer? I want to start as a weekend farmer first, Sarah said. Rent a small plot in a community garden, grow vegetables on weekends. If I truly enjoy it, I'll consider full-time involvement. Another great thing about this academy is meeting many like-minded friends. We can all support and encourage each other. Another student was a retired engineer, Mr. Lim, 60. He said that after retirement, he wanted to find something to do, and farming felt like good exercise while allowing him to eat safe food. Killing two birds with one stone. And farming requires mental engagement, Mr. Lim chuckled. Observing the weather, calculating timings, solving problems, it's much more interesting than playing golf. Listening to these students sharing, Dr. David deeply felt that Singaporean agriculture was undergoing a gentle revolution. This wasn't a top-down policy drive, but a ground-up movement of countless individuals who, with their creativity and passion, were gradually transforming the face of agriculture. 3 days of observation passed quickly. On the last evening, Mr. Tan and Dr. David reviewed the itinerary. "What are your thoughts?" Mr. Tan asked. Dr. David was silent for a moment. "I think I need to rethink many things. We in Israel have always believed that agricultural modernization means large-scale, high-tech, capital-intensive operations. But in Singapore, I've seen another possibility." "What possibility?" "A human-centric agriculture," Dr. David said. "Your agricultural innovation isn't just about making big profits or conquering nature. It's about making farmers' lives better, making the land healthier, and making society more sustainable. This value system is truly the most precious." "You're making us blush," Mr. Tan laughed. "Honestly, we didn't think that much. We just did what we felt was right. And that," Dr. David said, "is precisely what's so remarkable. You don't need to loudly proclaim any grand philosophy. You simply put it into practice. And you are willing to share, willing to help each other, willing to grow together. This spirit is lacking in many places." Upon returning to Israel, Dr. David compiled his 3 days of observations and decided to host a lecture at the university to share his findings. The announcement immediately garnered significant attention. Many were curious why this usually fastidious professor would speak so highly of an obscure place. On the day of the lecture, the hall was packed. Besides university faculty and students, many agricultural professionals had traveled specifically for the event. Dr. David stood at the podium, opening his presentation. The first slide was an image of an urban farm in Singapore. I want to start by asking everyone a question, he began. What kind of place do you consider Singapore to be? Someone in the audience raised a hand. A manufacturing hub? High-tech industry? Strong in semiconductors? Many people have that impression of Singapore, Dr. David nodded, including myself before I left, but what I saw there completely defied my expectations. He began playing photographs and videos taken in Singapore, from Uncle Lim's smart vertical farm to Ben's data-driven hydroponic operation, and then to the sharing session at the community center. For each photo and video, he provided detailed explanations and the stories behind them. This elderly farmer, self-taught in programming, designed a complete smart urban farming system, costing only 1/10 of our commercial systems, Dr. David explained. This young man, originally an engineer, gave up a high-paying job to return to farming, applying tech management methods to agriculture, creating a highly efficient production model. This cooperative assists over 200 small urban farmers, increasing their income by 30% while establishing a complete product traceability system. Expressions of surprise began to spread through the audience. Many had initially thought this was just a routine observation report, never expecting such profound content. I know some of you might be wondering if these are just isolated cases, Dr. David paused, but I tell you, they are not. In those 3 days, every farmer, every agricultural organization I encountered, exhibited the same spirit: innovation, pragmatism, willingness to share, and courage to break new ground. He played a video clip filmed at the farmer's bistro, showing farmers chatting casually, sharing experiences. Seeing this scene, I finally understood what an agricultural community truly means, Dr. David said. This isn't a competitive relationship, but a cooperative one. They don't hoard secrets, nor do they engage in destructive competition. Instead, they help each other, grow together. This culture makes the entire agricultural ecosystem incredibly healthy. Someone in the audience raised a hand. But, Dr. David, Singapore's agriculture is small scale. How can it compare to Israel? Our drip irrigation technology and greenhouse innovations are exported worldwide. This question was precisely what Dr. David wanted to address. You're right, our technology is indeed leading, he acknowledged. However, technology is not the entirety of agriculture. What I witnessed in Singapore is a more holistic agricultural philosophy. They don't just pursue yield, they also value quality, environment, sustainability, and human connection. And most importantly, their agriculture has warmth. He clicked to the next slide, showing a picture of the agri-tourism farm. Look at this farm. They don't just sell produce, they create experiences, allowing urbanites to rediscover agriculture. This is a transformation of value, from merely being producers to becoming educators, cultural communicators. This kind of transformation unlocks many more possibilities for agriculture. And their urban farming academy, Dr. David continued, it's entirely self-initiated. No government mandate, no commercial objective. Just a group of young farmers wanting to help more people enter agriculture. This selfless spirit of sharing is the true driving force behind agricultural progress. The discussions in the audience grew louder. Some questioned, some agreed, others sank into thought. What I want to convey, Dr. David raised his voice, is that the future of agriculture is not just a technological race, it's also a choice of values. We can choose to use more chemicals to pursue higher yields, or we can choose ecological methods to cultivate healthy produce. We can choose large-scale, mechanized production, or we can choose small-scale, exquisite agriculture. And Singapore, he paused, his gaze sweeping across the entire hall. They have chosen a different path. They haven't abandoned tradition, but have used modern technology to enhance it. They haven't forsaken small farmers, but have helped them become stronger. They haven't ignored the environment, but have embraced sustainability as their foundation. The hall fell silent. Everyone listened intently. I've researched agriculture for over 20 years, visited many countries, and seen various agricultural models. Dr. David's voice softened. But Singapore gave me the greatest shock, not because they possess some extraordinary, world-shattering technology, but because of their attitude towards agriculture. He played the final video clip, Uncle Lim tending to his plants in his urban vertical farm. The old man gently caressed a leaf, his eyes filled with tenderness. Seeing this scene, I remembered my original intention for studying agriculture, Dr. David said, a hint of emotion in his voice. At that time, I thought about how humanity could survive in harsh environments, how to feed more people. But somewhere along the way, This original intention got buried under countless data points, papers, and project proposals. The farmers of Singapore reminded me of the true essence of agriculture. He concluded, "It's not about conquest, not about exploitation, but about symbiosis. The symbiosis between humans and the land, the symbiosis between humans and nature, and the symbiosis between humans and humans,